Speaking now to the Shadow Minister for Policing, Crime and Fire, and it is, of course, the MP for Stockton West, Mr Matt Vickers. Matt, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike. Long time no see.
Long time no see. Welcome back. Good to see you. We're now slightly earlier than we used to be. Morning glory now instead of mid-morning in the Independent Republic. But let me show you this, because there's a lot of talk this morning about two-tier policing. Have a look at this. West Midlands Police Superintendent Emlyn Richards talking about what happened in Birmingham.
Because we were aware through intelligence that there was a potential protest through that misinformation yesterday, we had the opportunity to meet with community leaders, with business leaders prior to that event to kind of understand the style of policing that we needed to deliver during the course of that operation. So we knew that there was going to be a large amount of people out on that counter-protest. We knew who the vast majority of those people were. We'd had conversations in terms of what that was likely to look like, and so our policing response was commensurate to that intelligence and the information that we'd held with our partners and communities prior to that event taking place. What I would say is that the vast majority of people that attended that protest yesterday did so law-abidingly, and they did it with the right intentions. There were just a small minority of people that attended there and were intent on causing either criminality, disorder or fear within our communities.
Now, I saw that last night and thought, blimey, they've actually now admitted there is such a thing as two-tier policing. I mean, what would you make of that, Matt?
But I think, do you know what, people have had lots to say about what Keir Starmer said about, you know, he talks about one crowd of people being responsible. People have asked why, why didn't he mention the fact that all these weapons were on display in Birmingham?
Yeah.
I think those questions are for Keir Starmer. I think those questions are for Keir Starmer. I do not believe, though, that our police officers, our brave police officers who go out there on the streets, do anything other than maintain the law and order, regardless of fear and favour. I do not believe that the police officers in Cleveland make decisions to pursue one person over the other. I know we see stuff on social media. I mean, that is just horrendous, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's a decision that's not been made by the rank and file. That's a decision that's been made by the superintendent, talking, as he says, to business leaders, to community leaders, and basically asking them if they need the police to show up. And when they say no, they don't bother. And despite the fact that they've admitted since then that there were crimes committed, that there was violence taking place, and people were indeed intimidated and frightened, and a pub was nearly smashed up as a result of a sort of Muslim gang. I've just had Robert Jenrick in here referring to them as a sectarian gang going around doing harm to white people.
Yeah, do you know what? I think that we want the government to succeed and we want the police to succeed in bringing all of this vile disorder to an end. I think there are three things. You know what? I don't think that as opposition we should just throw bricks at the government. I think actually you've got to be constructive. You've got to look at what... I mean, I'm delighted that there's been 400 arrests.
Yeah, but to be fair, Matt, this happened under the Tories as well. I mean, we saw two-tier policing in London, didn't we, with the Palestine marches and all that.
I'm delighted that we've seen 400 arrests. I'm delighted that we've seen the courts acting around the clock. But there's three things where I think we went wrong. Well, where the government's gone wrong. I think one was not having a Cobra meeting for the best part of a week.
Yeah.
You know, they were too slow, and actually those Cobra meetings mean that police forces, that the agencies can come together, look at where they expect these things to happen and provide mutual aid, take it from areas where that pressure isn't there, so that these officers who are putting themselves in harm's way have enough officers around them to keep them safe, to keep the public safe, and to deal with these things properly. I think, secondly, I think there is a debate about what is and isn't said by senior politicians, by the Prime Minister. You need to call it out for what it is. No matter who you are, whatever your beliefs, you are right. Well, you have the right. You are able to be concerned about immigration. You're able to be concerned about your place of worship being attacked. You're able to be concerned about racism. But you know what? The minute you go on the streets with a knife, the minute you go out there and assault a police officer, a member of the public, the minute you start smashing up someone's home or someone's car, the minute you start smashing up, you break the law. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter what you are, doesn't matter what your motivations are. If you break the law, the law should come down on you like a ton of bricks. And actually, I know we see these videos and we talk about what happened there and why didn't the police intervene. It's based on what bodies they've got. It's based on what they're doing at the time. But in real terms, I looked at what happened in Middlesbrough the other day, and I looked at what went through the courts yesterday. Who was going through the courts? I saw young people who were stupid enough to go out there in response to things they'd seen on social media, get involved in this violent disorder, which is completely abhorrent and wrong. But at the same time, that same court, on that same day, was dealing with somebody who'd been to counter-protest, and that person is feeling the full force of the law as well. If you decide to go out with a knife, it doesn't matter what your justifications and your excuses are. The law needs to be there without fear or favour and uphold you to account.
But do you recognise, though, Matt, that there are problems in many constituencies and many communities in this country because of mass immigration, that people are angry, people feel as if they've been let down by successive governments? Many of those governments were, in the past 14 years, under you guys, and, you know, they feel as if they don't have a voice. And they say that to me every single day. And they're not all far-right, they're not all rioters, they're not all people that want to chuck bricks at the police. Many of them have gone to, you know, protests, and they've gone to vigils, and many of those who were arrested in London, for example, last week, were only in the wrong place at the wrong time when a dispersal order was issued, you know. So I think politicians have to recognise as well that the people are unhappy in general.
You know what? There are lots of people across the country concerned about immigration. It doesn't give anybody the right to go and do that. And in fact, the vast majority of people across the country who might be concerned about immigration do not go out there.
No, of course not.
There's no excuse for it.
And I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about the violence. I'm talking about the unhappiness and the anger that people feel, which is a very endemic thing across an awful lot of parts of the country.
As you well know, I have very strong views about immigration. I too am very disappointed with where we've got to with this situation. I'm disappointed at where we're getting to in the near future, in that I think the change of government has actually probably made things a hell of a lot worse, and we're going to see it get a hell of a lot worse very, very quickly. We've removed that deterrent. We've removed the thing that the National Crime Agency said we needed to put people off getting in those boats and making those journeys. That is an issue. That is an issue we need to debate long and hard. It's an issue we need to see action on. I think we've gone the wrong way with this government, and I think it's going to get a hell of a lot worse. But we cannot link that to this vile behaviour on our streets. Those people are thugs. It's completely wrong to do what they're doing, and we cannot try to justify or excuse the behaviour.
No, of course not. But that's not what I'm doing. That's exactly not what I'm doing. What I'm doing is I'm trying to explain to you that there are many more people, because the thuggish element is only a very small element of it. You know, they said that in the West Midlands about the Muslim gang, so I'm going to say it about the numbers of people who are unhappy. The people who are unhappy far outnumber the rioters, but they're still getting nothing done about what it is that they're unhappy about.
Yeah, I'm not saying that you are excusing them, but I'm saying what a lot of those people are doing is using that as an excuse for this behaviour.
Yes, but I want to move away from that conversation and talk more about the unhappiness and not about the violence. Everybody condemns the violence. Nobody is standing up and saying that's the right thing to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think, do you know what? People are right to be hugely concerned about it. We've seen the pressures that it's causing. We've seen the pressures that illegal immigration is causing. We've seen the pressures that legal migration is causing. But actually, we've seen measures put in place to control that. We'd seen changes in legal migration and who wasn't being allowed to come. That was going to, well, there was the potential that it was going to halve in the near future. But on illegal...
we don't see the change of that yet, I'm afraid. Matt, we've got to run. Thanks for your help. Matt Vickers there, Shadow Minister for Policing, Crime and Fire. The politicians have got to wake up here. They've got to understand that this is a problem. Not just condemn the rioters. That's all obvious. This is not the obvious stuff they need to look at. This is Morning Glory.